Hello, so this is drugs in perspective, not prevention. The chapter is prevention of substance abuse problems.
Good day, students, and welcome to our Health 9 class. For this quarter, we are going to talk about the prevention of substance use and abuse. The first topic is the common concepts in drug education. The first common concept is drugs. Drugs are any substances or chemicals which when taken into the body either through nasal, oral, transdermal, or intravenous way have psychological, emotional, and behavioral effects on a person. Example of nasal drug is a spray used to cure something. For oral drug, we have solid tablets, capsules, chewable tablets, or lozenges to be swallowed whole or sucked on, or as drinkable liquids such as drops, syrups, or solutions. Transdermal drug delivery involves drug diffusion through distinct layers of the skin into systemic or blood circulation to provoke therapeutic effect. Transdermal patches is an example. It delivers drugs topically where they are absorbed by the skin and into the bloodstream. They provide a consistent delivery of small amounts of a drug into the bloodstream over a long period of time. Intravenous way is existing or taking place within or administered into a vein or veins. This means they are sent directly into your vein using a needle or tube. So these are the difference between nasal, oral, transdermal, or intravenous way. Second is drugs of abuse. Drugs of abuse are drugs commonly abused by users. In the Philippines, the three drugs of abuse are shabu, marijuana, and inhalants. These are basically the drugs being abused by the users in the Philippines. Next one is drug dependence. Drug dependence is a cluster of physiological, behavioral, and cognitive phenomena of variable intensity in which the use of a drug takes on a high priority, thereby creating a strong desire to take the substance. It's possible to be dependent on drugs without being addicted, especially if you are using it to cure an illness. But others totally depend on the drugs. That is why it is called drug dependence. Some become addicted to drugs as they become more tolerant to their effects and preoccupied with getting them. Some people become dependent on drugs and unable to live without them. For example, people taking sleeping pills just to have a good sleep. Sometimes, even if it is not necessary after medication, they still continue using it. Next one is drug misuse. Drug misuse is the use of a substance incoherent or inconsistent with the prescribed dosage or frequency of use. Misuse of prescription drugs means taking a medication in a manner or dose other than prescribed as they think it could make them heal as easy as they could. Another thing is taking someone else's prescription because they do not want to go to the hospital on their own. If they know someone who is experiencing the same symptoms, they would also ask for the prescription of that person. Others are taking drugs to feel euphoria or pleasure or excitement and intense feelings of well-being and happiness. This is why we have the term drug misuse. Next one is drug abuse. Drug abuse is the use of a substance for non-medical purposes. Abuse leads to organ damage like brain damage and liver damage, addiction, and troubled behavioral patterns. When you are addicted to drugs, you cannot resist the urge to use them, no matter how much harm the drugs may cause. Next one is drug tolerance. Drug tolerance is the condition of the body to adapt to the effects of substances to the body, thus requiring an even larger amount of the substance to experience the same physiological and mental effect experienced when taking the smaller dosage. Tolerance is actually common. It can develop when your body is regularly exposed to a medication. If your body has developed a tolerance to a medication you are taking, it means the medication at your current dose has stopped working as effectively as it once did. It might mean your body becomes used to the medication and you don't get the same benefits or effects as before. So these are the common concepts of drugs. We have drugs, drugs of abuse, drug dependence, drug misuse, drug abuse, and drug tolerance. Let's talk about now the risk and protective factors for drug use, misuse, abuse, and dependence. The use, misuse, and abuse of drugs are the result of various factors surrounding a person. These factors either increase or decrease the possibility of a person to use drugs. Now, what are the risk factors and protective factors? When we say risk factors, these are those influences which increase the chances of using, misusing, and abusing drugs, while protective factors are those influences which decrease the chances of using, misusing, and abusing drugs. We have first the domains of life which affect drugs use and abuse. We have the personal, family, peers and friends, school, and community. Remember that these are the domains of life which affect drugs use and abuse. Let us now see the risk and protective factors under each domain. For personal, we have the risk factors such as use of drugs at an early age, risk-taking behavior, experimentation, poor social skills and interaction, childhood problems, and feelings of isolation. For the protective factors under personal, we have self-control behavior, good reasoning skills, excellent social skills, positive interaction with people, and sense of belonging. The next domain is family. The risk factors under the domain family are history and patterns of drug use, attitudes toward drug use, poor parenting and child rearing, inconsistent family riles, poor family values, and poor family ties. For the protective factors, we have good communication with people, positive family relationship, clear and consistent family rules, strong family values, positive expectation to child success in family, school, and community, and reliance on family for emotional support. Next domain is peers and friends. The risk factors are association with peers and friends known to use gateway drugs. When we say gateway drugs, these are the cigarettes and alcohol, and preference to stay with peers and friends than with family. For the protective factors, we have association with peers and friends who do not use gateway drugs, formation of friendships, reliance on friends for emotional support, and inviting friends at home to know the family. Next one is community. Communities' risk factors are easy access to gateway drugs, poor community organization and neighborhood relationship, poor implementation of community laws, and negative attitudes which favor drug use. For the protective factors, we have strong community relationships, active and positive community programs, projects, and activities for the youth, positive attitude which combat drug use, and strong community advocacy against drugs. For the school, we have the risk factors such as poor academic performance, lack of commitment to studies, poor attendance in school, and involvement in fights and conflicts. Under the protective factors, we have good to excellent academic performance, joins extracurricular activities and school organizations, and show interest in attending classes. These are the risk and protective factors under each domain. Remember that we have personal, family, peers and friends, school and community, and these are the domains of life which affect drugs use and abuse. Let's now go to the sixth classification of drugs of abuse. When we say drugs of abuse, these are the drugs which are improperly used by the users. The Dangerous Drugs Board or DDB listed three major drugs of abuse in the Philippines. We have the methamphetamine hydrochloride or also known as shabu, cannabis sativa or also known as marijuana, and inhalants or better known as solvents. First, we have gateway drugs. Gateway drugs are legal drugs that a non-drug user might try, which can lead him or her to more dangerous drugs such as marijuana and shabu. Teenagers who engage in early smoking and drinking have higher chance of using and experimenting with dangerous drugs of abuse. When we say gateway drugs, these are introductory habit-forming substances that give way to more severe drug use down the road. These are typically milder, fairly accessible substances. For example, we have the alcohol or marijuana. These are first used in adolescence or young adulthood. So these are very common for students. These easy to get, easy to use drugs familiarize young users or students with first feelings of intoxication. This is what it looks like if the person is smoking or drinking alcohol too much. Next to gateway drugs, we have the depressant drugs. Depressant drugs slows down a person's central nervous system, such as brain, spinal cord, or nerves. Doctors commonly prescribe depressants to help people who have anger management issues, stressed, or tense. Depressants relax muscles and nerves, and these drugs make patients feel sleepy and lightheaded. We have here the examples such as alcohol, barbiturates, and tranquilizers. Depressant drugs are sometimes called downers. I repeat, it is sometimes called downers. These drugs come in multicolored tablets and capsules or in liquid form. Some drugs in this category are known as major tranquilizers or antipsychotics, as they are supposed to reduce the symptoms of mental illness. Next to depressant drugs, we have stimulant drugs. Stimulant drugs speed up a person's central nervous system. Actually, it has the opposite effect of depressants. It makes a person's energy high. The side effects are depression and tiredness. Example for stimulant drugs are amphetamines, or known as shabu, caffeine, nicotine, and cocaine. If the present drugs are sometimes called downers, stimulant drugs are sometimes called uppers, temporarily increase alertness and energy. Prescription stimulants come in tablets or capsules. When abused, they are swallowed, injected in liquid form, or crushed and snorted. Okay, I repeat that these drugs can make a person feel more awake, alert, confident, or energetic. But for its side effects, we have depression and tiredness. Next to stimulants, we have narcotics. Narcotics are drugs which relieve pain and induce sleepiness. These are prescribed to patients with mental disorders or with patients dealing with severe pain like cancer. These drugs are illicit and dangerous if taken. We have cocaine, heroin, and marijuana as examples under narcotics. Remember that narcotics are a type of drug that have the potential to be addictive. Because of their addictive potential, this type of drug should only be used according to a doctor's specific prescription. Any other type of use is considered abuse and can lead to addiction and other possibly life-threatening conditions. Next one is hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are drugs which distort reality and facts. This affects all senses, making a user feel, hear, or see things that don't really exist in the time being. Hallucinogens are a diverse group of drugs that alter a person's awareness of their surroundings as well as their own thoughts and feelings. Hallucinogens can cause hallucinations or sensations and images that seem real though they are not. Next one is inhalants. Inhalants are found in ordinary household chemical products and anesthetics such as acetone, rugby, spray paints, cleaning fluids, and air conditioner fluids. These are readily available and accessible to young children. Inhalant toxins are similar to those of alcohol. The only difference is the foul smell. Abuse can lead to delusions, brain damage, liver damage, comatose, and death. Although other substances that are misused can be inhaled, the term inhalants refers to the various substances that people typically only or take only by inhaling. The given examples are already told. Last to talk about is the myths and misconceptions about drugs of abuse. These are beliefs of some people, but in reality, it is not true. First, we have the myth and misconception that drugs of abuse improve memory. Well, in fact, drugs of abuse do not improve memory. Another myths and misconceptions that we have is drugs of abuse help in the digestion of food. While in fact, drugs of abuse do not help in the digestion of food. Next one is that drugs of abuse make a person bold and brave, they said. But in fact, drugs of abuse place a user in a dangerous and life-threatening situation. Another myth and misconception is that drugs of abuse remove life's problems and worries. Well, in fact, drugs of abuse worsen life's problems and worries. Last, for the myths and misconception is that drugs of abuse heat up the body. Well, in fact, drugs of abuse do not heat up the body. Instead, they make the body lose heat faster than normal. And that's it for our lesson in health. Thank you and see you again on our next video.